All right, everybody stand up. You've been listening to me for a while. You had your dessert. I need you all to stand up. Except you who have the foot in the boot, if you don't want to stand up. I'm a reasonable guy. All right, so here's how this game works. If you can't say yes to a question, then you need to sit. As long as you can say, yes, my organization does that, you can remain standing. So the first question is, at your current organization, how many of you track turnover? If you do not track turnover, have a seat. If you do, okay, still seated to sit. All right, good. How many of you take that turnover and break it out into voluntary and involuntary? All right, good. Yeah, you're all feeling good now. Okay. How many of you take the voluntary and the involuntary and further segment it to reason codes so you can understand why they quit or why we fired them? All right, I got a few people. Now I'm pulling out the big gun. How many of you track desirable turnover? Some of you are like, I've never even heard of that. If you haven't heard of it, go ahead and sit down because you're not tracking. But if this is, I can't wait to talk about this in another slide or two. And just for you turkeys who think you're so good and you're still standing, how many of you track regrettable turnover? Okay, everybody look at them. She is doing the next presentation for Dulles SHRM, okay? And by the way, we need to do coffee because I want to learn a few things from you. So we'll exchange cards later. All right, so we're getting into some deep stuff here. Again, this is all about the data. So desirable turnover, Adam, what's that? So this great article that I've put into the references, which you'll have an opportunity to learn, to read, is by Dr. John Sullivan in an April 2009 article for ERE Recruiting Intelligence. The article was called, "Not All Employee Turnover is Bad. Celebrate Losing the Losers." And in this article, he actually says that 25% of all turnover, 25%, a quarter of it is desirable. And he gave 14 different reasons, but I don't want to keep you here till 9 o'clock, so I'm going to give you just a couple. Imagine if a bottom performer leaves on their own. You did not have to fire them. That's good. That is desirable turnover. What if a bottom performer is terminated? Hey, you know, it still means that your counseling and discipline system worked, and it means you got rid of somebody. That's desirable turnover. Imagine if you have an average kind of, you know, so-so employer who gets replaced by a star. Now, it's going to take you a little while to know that, but you're going to be like, hey, I upgraded. This is like going from a Hyundai to a Lexus, right? All right. And of course, since we're here talking about internal mobility, lower performer is replaced by promoting somebody inside who needed more challenge and a growth opportunity. It's almost like this guy in 2009 wrote the article for me in 2016. Okay, number 5, I know this never happens, but I had to include it. Employee was a notoriously bad manager. If that happened, it would be desirable, but since it never happened, it's okay. How many of you are affirmative action employers? Those of you are going to appreciate number 6. Non-diverse employee gets replaced by a diverse one. Now you have the opportunity to address your underutilization and your, improve your placement goals. And by the way, number 6 could also be any one of these. Maybe a bottom performer is terminated and the replaced person is better and, oh, by the way, is also diverse. And of course, number 7, employee was a troublemaker. They suck up a lot of your time. That would be desirable. We were talking at dinner about a few of those that I'm sure you guys were too. That's desirable turnover. Now, there's also something called regrettable turnover. I hinted at that before. What you need to start doing is categorizing everybody who leaves as a D for desirable and R for regrettable, as well as those other things. And here's what regrettable is. Yes, there's actually math in this class. We all know the turnover calculations because I was doing that in like 1990 something, all right? So that's not new. Take the number of separations, divided by the average number of employees in the unit, multiply by 100. Straightforward math. Regrettable turnover is what you're doing is you're looking at your high potential people, your future leaders, your next gen. However you've designated those people, you monitor them separately. And what you do is you take your number of high potentials who've left, and you do the same math, compare it to the actual number of high pos in the total body you've designated, and you multiply it times 100. So let's give you a sample. If I have a big organization, 1,800 employees, and I have 100 departures, a little bit of math will tell you my turnover rate is 5.5%. Depending on your industry, depending on your organization's history, that might not be too bad at all. That'd be pretty good, actually. But let's look at regrettable turnover. Let's say of those 100 who left, 12 of them were what you would call your high-pos, your high-potential next gen. And you had 72 that you had designated throughout this 1,800-person company. Right? That's not an unreasonable number, almost 2,000 employees. Now what you've done is you have lost nearly 17% of your high-potential next-gen leaders. Now this 5.5% thing, it suddenly doesn't matter too much because I care about who I'm losing and I'm losing the good ones. That's regrettable turnover.